Hello and welcome back to Power Score. I'm going to be predicting NFL games for Week 7 along with Power Score, which is my metric I've created to determine how good or bad a team is, with 0 being exactly average. And so let's get into this. Last week I did much better than the week before. I went 10-5, but Power Score beat me once again, going 12-3, very impressive. And they're pulling ahead overall with 58 games guessed correctly and me with only 55. Alright, so this first game up is the Steelers against the Bengals. The Steelers, they only have one loss so far. They always take care of business against teams that are worse than them. The Bengals, they're probably the worst team in the league, and their 32nd Power Score, I think that the Steelers should have no problem beating the Bengals here. Now we have the Rams against the Jaguars. This is a very interesting matchup. The Rams have had a good start, but they could be losing some steam a little bit. They're the more consistent team of the two, I would say. I would trust them more to get the win here. The Jaguars are a good team also, though. They just couldn't get it going against the Seahawks last week, and they're a healthier team, so it could go either way, but I'm going to take the Rams here. Power Score is taking the Jaguars, who are ranked 4th overall in their Power Score rankings. Now we have the Eagles against the Vikings. The Eagles, they just had a terrible loss to the Giants last week. They need to play a good full game of football. They're really not showing up in one half or the other. And the Vikings, I'm still not convinced that they're very good. This will be a good test for them to see where they're at. I just don't think that they've really beaten any good teams yet. So I'm going to take the Eagles here. I think that they'll get the bounce back win. Power Score agrees with me. And we'll move on. Now we have the Patriots against the Titans. The Patriots, they seem like a very good team. They beat the Bills a couple weeks ago. They should have no problem against the Titans. The Titans just fired their head coach. They're just bad. So I'm taking the Patriots, and Power Score is also taking the Patriots. Next up we have the Panthers against the Jets. The Panthers are a somewhat competitive team so far this season. They're at 3-3. They're moving on up Power Score. The Jets, they have no wins yet this year. They could win this week, but will they? I'll take the Panthers in this one, and Power Score is also taking the Panthers. Now we have the Dolphins against the Browns. We'll see what happens when a stoppable force meets a movable object in this game. Power Score says that the Browns will win this battle. I will say that the Dolphins are going to win. This will be a low-scoring game, but I think that the Dolphins can pull out a win 13-12 or something like that. I would not be surprised if the Browns pulled off the win, though. Next, we have the Saints against the Bears. The Saints, they've been a tough opponent the past few weeks. The Bears, they snuck out a win against Washington. They could be a good team. Still not convinced, though. I'm still going to take the Bears, but I'm still worried that they could lose to the Saints here. Power Score's taking the Bears, too. Now we have the Raiders against the Chiefs. The Raiders, they don't seem like a good team, but they beat Tennessee. The Chiefs, they're getting better each week, unfortunately. I really don't want to see the Chiefs back in the AFC Championship game, but for this game, I'm going to take the Chiefs, and Power Score is also taking the Chiefs. Now we have the Colts against the Chargers. The Colts, they won a close game against the Cardinals, but I still would take them to be one of the best teams in the league. Power Score, they are, according to them, the best team in the league right now. The Chargers, they also won a close game, but against the Dolphins, which is probably a worse opponent than the Cardinals, but I'm going to take the Colts here, and Power Score is also taking the Colts. Next up, we have the Giants and the Broncos. The Giants, they beat the Eagles convincingly. The Broncos, they barely got out of London with a win against the Jets. I could see an upset happening here, but I'll still take the Broncos and play it safe. Power Score is also taking the Broncos. But this one worries me a little bit. Next up, we have the Packers against the Cardinals. Packers, they're pretty good, but how good are they? For the Cardinals, they've fallen off a cliff a little bit, but they could get back on track with a win here. I'm going to take the Packers. Power Score is also taking the Packers. But once again, I'm a little worried about this one. The Cardinals could win. Next up, we have the Commanders coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Bears, going against the Cowboys, who just barely lost to the Panthers. The Commanders, I think, will still have a good season. They could still get the season back on track. The Cowboys, I'm definitely not convinced that they're good at all right now. I'm going to take the Commanders here, and Power Score is also taking the Commanders. Now we have the Falcons against the 49ers. The Falcons had a huge win against the Bills. I think that they're a very good team. 49ers, though, they're a very consistent team despite key injuries. I might take, I don't know if it's technically an upset, but I'm going to take the 49ers here as an upset. And Power Score is taking the Falcons, who are ranked second in Power Score with a very good defensive score. I'm going to go with the 49ers, though. I have a feeling about this game. I'm going to take the 49ers. Now we have a very, very good game, I think, coming up here. The Buccaneers against the Detroit Lions. The Buccaneers, I think that they're the best team in the league right now, in my opinion. Baker Mayfield would be the MVP if the season ended right now. The Lions, they are coming off a somewhat shocking loss to the Chiefs. They're still a good team, but I think that the Buccaneers are better right now. I'm going to take the Buccaneers. Power Score's taking the Lions, though. We'll see who gets this one right next week. And now we have, lastly, a very interesting matchup with the Texans against the Seahawks. The Texans, they have a better defense, but Seattle's a better offense. But neither are bad on either side of the ball. The Seahawks, I think that they're a better overall team, so I'll take them in this one, and Power Score agrees. And in Power Score, they're both 11th and 12th, so very similar in overall score. I'm taking the Seahawks, though, so we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and come back next week to see my predictions for Week 8.